So right now, a lot of the emphasis um, is obviously on within the organization, because there are kids doing other sports, but a lot of the emphasis is like I said at the beginning, kind of directed more toward what we're doing, where it's, we're doing speed and agility training, and trying to do some of those things that you necessarily can't do while you're in season. But then as far as looking at other items, and something I would love to get some input on further is we're starting to talk about what are some fundraising things that we can be looking at doing for the upcoming season. And then also within our organization, we have some teams that are looking to do some special tournaments. I don't know if you've heard of Shipyard, which is down around Charleston, South Carolina. Some have talked about wanting to maybe venture to the Ripken Experience, and then other parts of the country. So we're starting to look at that, and we're starting to look at how we can work those into the schedules and those sort of things. So so that's kind of the broad scope of some of the things that we're talking about and looking at.
So from a fundraising point of view, I find that's interesting, and I think, Tom, we can talk about that. But what about I'm curious to know more about the tournaments that you're the special tournaments. What makes them special, and so forth?
I say special just because it's outside of what like our normal game schedule would be. So it's traveling a fair distance outside of our normal area. So that's why I call them special tournaments, and it kind of highlights your season. Something that we, the families and the players look forward to, and it's something that you circle on the calendar, right in January, and it's just a highlight of the season.
Good. And then in terms of, well, and Steve, I'll let you jump in if you want to ask anything else about the tournament. One of the things, Scott, you had mentioned that you're running into some just differences in opinions on where to go. What are those obstacles look like, and what, is there anything that Steve and I can do to maybe set up a meeting with you and some others in that board or in your organization?
Yeah, and I would actually, because I've really kind of exhausted at least the avenues or the way to approach it that I can think of. So I would certainly be open to suggestions that you both could offer up on how to approach, maybe a little bit differently than what I have in the past, the organization and the fact of the need that I see that there is for coaching education, and coming up with a structured format to present that to coaches and to our organization. Because again, Tom, it's I can't quite put my finger on if it's why it's met with so much speculation. I don't know why they're not why there's not more interest in it when there is an obvious need.
Right.
So I would be open to what you and Steve could offer up on maybe a good way to approach the subject and get it to the next step.
So it's hard to it's hard for an organization to know that a resource is valid if, in fact, most people, like literally 95%, 98% of the organizations, don't even use it and don't even think about this, right? I mean, it's kind of like, imagine this. If I said to you, Scott, I want you to come over to my house now, and we're have a little party, and I'll see you there at 10. We'll have a good party. And you say, great. And I leave. And after I leave, you say, well, Steve, how do I get there? Or you wish Steve would have told you, how do I get to Steve's house? There's no roadmap for an organization to supply coaching resources right now. It does not exist. And if your organization survives without it right now, and it's doing okay, you're not really motivated to think that it's a necessary thing. Now, I do project within the next 10 years, I predict that most organizations will supply coaching resources like they supply uniforms to their kids. Okay, I do think it's something that will happen. The resources need to improve. And some leader in the field, somebody that's not me, but some leader like, a guy that everybody across the country knows, is going to say, hey, you guys are missing the boat. You need to do this for your teams. And I think you'll see it changed. I also think expectations on coaches are very poor. We don't expect much of coaches. We just hope that they show up for their practices. They do a good job with their kids as far as treating them good. We hope they're successful, that they run good practices. We hope all these things, right? But how do we know? What do we ask them to do? How are they improving themselves? We don't do those things. And it's not anybody's fault. I mean, hell, I've been coached 39 years and I could have skated the whole time. No one would have ever said much to me.
And the unfortunate part, Steve, is the league looks at it like if they're not getting phone calls or complaints from parents, then everything's fine. Right?
So let's do this, though. Let's look at it from a different perspective. Let's look at it. How do you make your organization different from the organization down the street? Well, you can make it different by providing cool uniforms, right? And have a good field to play on. Those are all good things. Maybe you have a facility to practice in. But if you want to be different, you have to provide the resources for your coaches and your parents. That'll help you, I think. And if it really helps coaches provide better practices and raise the bar on expectations, and then parents think that their kids are getting more than the organization down the street, and you can develop a little reputation that you're the teaching organization, so to speak. I was talking to one of our coaches here the other day, and I told him, I said, if your kids and your parents think that they're getting quality coaching, they're more apt to settle for a 5-5 or a 25-25 record before they do what most parents do, right? They want to go to the next best club. But if you're at 500 and the coaches treat the kids right and they're providing great practices and the kids are learning, people want to stay, and then other people from other clubs might want to come. So what we have to do is paint a picture for the guys that run your organization that there is a need for this kind of educational material. And by the way, it's not only a good coach's clinic, right? It's the actual resources. It's the coaching guides. I mean, Tommy has really done, Tom, when you first put this out into my mind, you said, hey, Steve, we need to do better than what we're doing. I really wasn't sure where we were heading. And after seeing what we've done, those guides to me probably have more validity than the practice drills, because it's the stuff in the guides that help coaches get going. It helps coaches that are relatively new know what to, it's a step-by-step guide for them, what to do and how to do it and what to expect. And it gives them a little bit of swagger. It gives them a little bit of an understanding of what's expected of them to deliver to the kids, and then how they can improve their skill set. So what we need to do, I think, from your organization's perspective, is simply try to create that need that they have. Try to point that out to them. And I think maybe, Tom, we could help with, this is all verbal, right? But what are the steps to do that? And I think we can probably identify some things that we already have, or maybe create something that would give you a little bit of a kind of a plan on what to do.
Sure. Yeah.
So Scott, to that point, I want to give like, and your folks a lot better, is this simply, do you guys do they need to see a sample login, sample username and password to see, like, will they actually use it? Will they actually log in and use it? We could do that. I can share with you some of the free guides, and then, with the emphasis to say, hey, use this at your next board meeting, pass this on to your coaches, pass this on to your family. I'm thinking of just the hitting instructor checklist, even the organizational guide. But the question though is, would they open it? Would they look at it with the next, kind of thing to kind of, would they engage in a conversation of like, hey, let's talk further about this. Let's set up a, kind of a individual meetup and just talk through, no sales stuff, just talk through some of the things that they're seeing and how we can kind of assess and assist.
Yeah. And so when Steve and I first spoke about this was in 2020 or late 19, early 20. And then of course we know what happened there.
Sure.
But the coaches that I had spoken to after I'd conversed with Steve thought that it was a great idea, and certainly something that our organization was in need of. And so I wasn't really able to run it up the flagpole because of COVID and everything getting shut down in 20. But then this past early spring, late winter, early spring, I sent out emails early, and I got back from the league's vice president, said, yeah, that's great. We definitely need to look into doing something like that. Well, next thing you know, as spring approached and tryouts start and all this stuff, I followed up on it. It was like, yeah, okay, we'll see. It was just, it kind of hit a dead end. And, so again, I kind of walked away, honestly, guys, quite frustrated and almost felt like, and they wound up actually not even doing anything for new coaches. At least in the past, they had done like, an hour or two on a Saturday, getting all the coaches together. Again, they didn't really enforce it, but it was they called it a coaches clinic. And it was really just two coaches that got up there and they spoke a little bit, gave some suggestions for drills, and then let everybody kind of break out and have their own little discussions. It really wasn't much, but they didn't even do that. And so again, I was just really quite frustrated with the organization, and again, to Steve's point, their lack of interest in this subject.
So let me throw something out, Tom, and Tom, you can be, devil's advocate here. I see two options, two steps, and we can do none of them, one of them, or both of them. So here is number one. Scott, you need to schedule, ask your board to schedule a 30-minute window at their next board meeting for this. Okay. And we will create for you an outline, very concise, not a piecemeal thing that, will they look at this or will they open that? We'll create the need and the solution, okay, and the links that they may or may not look at, but we will create the picture where they think they understand that they have a need and we have a solution. We'll create that in a one-page document. Now, I think personally, if we can get on that agenda in, we're talking December now, you're looking at a January board meeting, that it's still possible to get something going for this year, because that would give them a full 6 weeks to really try to get it organized by March 1, 6 to 8 weeks, actually. So I like that. Number two, this is really kind of what happened in North Carolina oh gosh, I forget isn't that terrible? Where the banks are, I forget the town.
Moorhead.
Moorhead, yeah. So what happened is I went there. They put together a camp, and I think we agreed that the camp was we were looking for 50 kids or 30 kids, and the kids were paying, I'm making this up, $15 or $50 or $100 or whatever, and it came to around $2,600 to get me there, do a camp, and pay for my flight and my hotel. But when I was there, we scheduled time to meet with, I met both boards and I met parents. And what I did when I was there is I actually ran a camp. I got all the parent involvement and coaches involvement, ran the camp. They really enjoyed that. And then I scheduled like different periods of time during the day. And the 4 o'clock slot on Saturday was I got to meet the boards. So I went in on Friday night. I did a clinic, right, for all the coaches in 2 organizations. Then using that as the basis on Saturday, we did a camp, a 2-hour, 15-minute camp. And then I met the boards directly. And then Sunday we did another 2-hour camp, and I hopped on a plane and left. But what I did with the boards was articulate what this outline would be. And to be honest with you, I had no problem. Once they saw what a good camp looked like, what a good practice can look like, what they began to understand what they didn't know, right? They began to see what they didn't know. And then they said, hey, we want to use some of these drills. We want our practices to look like this. We want our coaches to be able to talk to their parents, be able to talk to their players in a certain way, to have a practice plan. We want them to be able to improve their skills by having a coaching portfolio. We want to provide these resources. It seemed to work. I had both those organizations bought in, and I, hopped on the plane, flew home, and I got a chance to reach kids, parents, and organization. And that worked as well. So I'm going to suggest, Tommy, that we do one of those things or both of those things, and to see if it can fly.
What time of the year was that you went?
Let's see. I was there the last weekend in February.
Yeah, right before COVID.
Yeah, that's right. I was actually right when COVID was starting. And it's a darn shame because it was like I was in California the week before, and that went awesome. And then it was like we were on a roll, coach baseball, right? And then all of a sudden, everything stopped.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to the ABCA convention in Chicago?
No, not this year.
No, I'm not either. I'm going to do the virtual option, but
yeah, it's a cool thing. We just get bogged down, and Steve and I, well, it's just Steve and I. So it's, we've got everybody we want to see, and it's just not a lot of bandwidth.
Sure. Well, yeah, and the other thing, too, guys, in hearing you talk through this, the other thing that I told the coaches that I spoke to about this is the fact that, and I've touched on this before, it's a one-stop shop, right? So when you have new coaches, it's real easy to get overwhelmed if you're just going to go and do a Google search or a YouTube search for baseball videos, right? Because there's so much stuff out there that it can just leave your head swirling, and you don't know what's good information or not so good information, and everything in between, because some of it's contradictory, right? And so, whereas here it's like, okay, clear the clutter. Here's one place that you can go and you can pull everything that you need as a new coach or an experienced coach for that matter, and draw from it, and you don't need to look anywhere else. You don't need to do anything else. So again, that was met with, the coaches were like, yeah, that sounds great. That's definitely something we need. But again, it was just hit roadblocks.
Hey, Scott, the other thing I forgot to mention too was that the immediate area we can help improve any organization is the Start Baseball Right. So here's an area that honestly, it's tangible, and almost everybody would agree that the current scenario is not acceptable, but nobody really wants to think about how do you solve it. So we've thought about it, and we can implement it with the program. So I would say to you, and again, you're never going to hurt Tom's feelings or my feeling. Trust me, we've been through this a lot with a lot of different people. What are the chances of you being able to set up a meeting and have a 30-minute block assigned and kind of present the document that we'll create? And we're happy. One of us or both of us would be happy to participate, but we don't want to do that and force ourselves on people either. We want to we don't want to be that kind of guy.
Right.
But we're happy to help if you think that that's needed. And then what are the chances be of you talking to 2 or 3 other coaches and setting up a kind of a clinic camp, like a Friday night, we would do a clinic for the coaches. And then on a Saturday, a camp, a Saturday afternoon, we would do either a hitting seminar or the meeting with the board. Sunday morning, the 2-hour camp. And then I'd hop on a plane and get out of there and go home. What are the possibilities of either one of those or both?
Again, certainly I love the ideas of it. Certainly something I can spread the word on and kind of see if I can gain some traction with it. And I would love to see at the very least getting you guys in touch with the right people to again 30-minute Zoom to go through the presentation and present what you have to offer, and at least get that out there and get their wheels turning on with that. And then maybe through that, it could lead to then, doing the coaches clinic, doing the clinic where you come out. And what I would like to see is I know enough coaches in probably 3 or 4 different organizations to where, again, maybe it's something where we spread the word, and it's where you can come out and it can be, a good sized group of coaches from different organizations. Because the one thing I found is if you have, 50 coaches, let's just say in an organization, and when we've done the coaches camps and you have it on a Saturday, you're lucky to get 15 to maybe 20 coaches come out. But if you say, okay, if we have 4 organizations and we can get 15 or 20 from each one of those organizations, well, now we're doing something. Now we're getting something going.
So that's really what happened with the other one earlier. Was we had 2 organizations do it, and the one town Tommy, that you mentioned, it wasn't even that town that brought me in. It was the other town that set it up. And then I wound up becoming acquainted with the second town as well. So anyway, I really think that we could help. And would you be able to pass us some contacts for those other organizations and maybe the specific your coaching friends? Because I'd probably feel better reaching out to someone that and doing that and contacting them and going from there. Tom?
Yeah, and Scott, maybe what I'll do is I'll send an email to you this week, and we'll start kind of outlining some different things here, because one of the things that I want to be able to do too for your organization, for the other coaches, is like I feel like we got to hook them with some of our resources first, like, hey, here's a resource. Please share this with your parents. It's a hitting instructor checklist. Here's another resource. This is for the board level administrator. It's our organizational guide, right? It's the top resource guide. And so, so people know that we're doing this in the good spirit here, that we're giving, and we're just asking for some dialogue and some conversation. And we believe our resources speak for itself. They're going to look at this. They're going to hopefully share it with people in their organization. And then that's all they need to kind of say, yes, let's go ahead and Zoom, or let's go ahead with, what are the next steps types of things. So well, I'll send you an email, and we'll kind of start strategizing for that, and then get those other contacts and develop a plan for that they can use and be, have beneficial for.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah, that may be a good start, Tom. That's a good place to start. I'll certainly, in the meanwhile, I will make a list of those coaches, and I will reach out to, now here is the one good thing I failed to mention is,
thank you.
One of the local organizations, the local Little League, just got a new president. So somebody that, and I know him pretty well. We, coached, our kids are similar in age, so we've coached, against each other the past few years. So I have a pretty good rapport with him. So he's going to be my first contact, and we'll see where that leads with him for sure.
Okay, great. All right. Well, look for my email. Thanks, Scott, for the insights. Steve, is there anything else? I just want to be cognizant of our time and Scott's time.
No, I like the idea. Let's put together that little outline, and Scott, you go ahead and talk to that gentleman and maybe make that list, and we'll kind of get a plan together on how this can work.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm encouraged by this, and we'll certainly work toward this. It sounds good.
Tommy, when's our next meeting? Is it before Christmas?
Yeah, it'll be the week before. So like the 21st, 20th. Let's see. Yeah, 21st.
Okay. Well, Scott, I look forward to seeing you down the road, then maybe at the next one.
Absolutely. Yeah. And hopefully you're, like I said, I'll get that email from Tom, and I'll get this list of emails, and, shoot it along to you guys, and we'll just, we'll go from there.
Hey, thanks so much.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you guys.
Good night, guys. Bye-bye. Good talking with you.
Bye now.